My name is Steve Lambert, and last summer I started showing this giant sign. I guess I do this. Okay, that's me. Hello. Okay. Started showing this giant sign. It is really big. It says "Capitalism Works for me," and it has a scoreboard attached to it. And you vote at this podium. And it's been set up in public spaces where all kinds of people encounter it. It's designed in many ways to draw people in. It's stated as an assertion rather than a question. It's red, white, and blue. I like to say for France. It's oriented around personal experience. So it's not capitalism works for the United States or for the government or for the world. It's capitalism works for me, which after decades of therapy, I figured out that ends arguments. Like, I feel like this instead of... Anyway. In the last 15 months, it's shown in these cities, and over the next year, planning and working on showing it in these cities. I could use your help, so if anybody wants to get a hold of me after, you know how to find me. We also set up one in Holland, showed first time in September. I like to call this the franchise. So we're also looking for another home for it there. And let's see. You might be wondering, why did I make this? Why did I build something so big and spend all this time and energy? In the past, I did a lot of projects that led to this. I worked for years on a collaborative project called the Anti-Advertising Agency, where we really dealt with the sort of mouthpiece of capitalism, which is advertising and marketing. This is a project that I did with Josh McPhee, who's going to be up in right after me in a little bit, where we started promoting alternative economies within capitalism. We also subverted various systems of control of advertising. This is ad art, which replaced ads on the internet with art. It's a browser extension. And then with the New York Times special edition, which some of you guys might have seen, we had 3 different stories on the front page that had to do with economics and tax justice and wealth inequality. So in many ways, capitalism was at the heart of everything I was working on. And I decided that, well, it's a funny thing actually about the word capitalism in our culture, because we use all these other words to sort of talk around it without actually talking about the system itself. So the system itself is rarely on the table to evaluate, and luckily Zizek covered a lot of this for me. Because there's no space to talk about this in our culture, it becomes very difficult to imagine any other way that the world could work. And so I decided I needed to take this on. That was my big challenge, to make a piece that wasn't tedious, a piece about capitalism that wasn't tedious, that could engage everyday people and that would get them to reflect rather than argue. At the same time that I knew that trying to talk to somebody on the street, like if someone came up to me and said, "Can I talk to you about capitalism?" I'd feel like they were walking up to me and saying, "Can I talk to you about Jesus Christ?" Okay? Like, I've had a lot of other bad experiences with this. I don't know how long it's going to take. Are you going to ask me to join some kind of organization? I'm just not sure what I'm committing to. What's the end game? So I know some of you might be thinking, "Steve, I don't know what you're talking about. We talk about capitalism all the time in my Occupy encampment. I'm ready to talk to you about capitalism right now." Congratulations, you are not my audience. Most people are not ready to confront inequality, not ready to confront inequity, or whatever term you want to use. So I decided to meet them where they are and to begin a discussion that may, just for the first time, that they would be having for the first time. So you'd be surprised at how many people in front of this sign will ask me, like, "Hey, can I just ask you, can you tell me what capitalism is?" It's a little upsetting. They would also ask me, "Can you tell me what works means? Can you tell me what you mean by me?" And those are 2 much better questions, right? Because that's an indicator that there's some thought happening, right? And that they've been lured into my trap. So most people really only understand capitalism in relation to socialism and communism, right? So whenever they would ask, like, what are the alternatives, Steve? What are you proposing? I would always say, because again, it's about our ability to dream and imagine, I would always say, something better. And they would say, well, what's that mean? And I'd say, we don't know yet. And then things would sort of start to open up. So this is seen by thousands of people around the country, and I just wanted to give you a little summary of some of the things that they say. I've kind of categorized them here. So this is like real simple answers. This does happen. This is a woman in Cleveland who said she voted true because she loves shopping. Okay, it happens. You get what I call the heartbreaking no. This happens every once in a while. It's hard to watch. This is a picture of Cindy and Mike. They run a club in Cleveland called, or a kind of music venue called the Beachland Ballroom. And in many ways, they're doing like all these really great things. They transform this neighborhood that was really depressed. They employ a lot of people. They're a real anchor in the neighborhood, and they're doing everything right, but they still struggle. And not because they're making bad decisions, but like bad luck. They had a bad roof. The House of Blues moved into Cleveland and outbid them for big acts, and so they lost a lot of money in that period. This is a guy named Wisely, who is from Haiti, who told us a story about a textile factory that recently opened in his hometown and took all the clean drinking water. I mean, just really heartbreaking stories. So another big category is what I call the qualified yes, which really throws off the scoring. This is a family, and this guy said, capitalism can work, but society has problems. In some ways, I'd say yes, but not to its full potential, right? This is a high school student here who voted true, told us a really amazing rags to riches story about her immigrant father coming to the United States and basically working from nothing to having a lot of wealth. But then her family got divorced, and her mom was in this really precarious position. So it was like, yeah, it works for me, but not for my mom, Lovely. My favorite one is what I call like the slow unraveling. And the best case is this guy. He said, yeah, it works. And in the 3 minutes he took to explain how it worked, ended with, well, actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't actually work for me. So there you get these kind of amazing insights. This is a high school student who said, capitalism can't work for everyone because if it did, it wouldn't be capitalism. And I was like, you're 17, you're awesome. So anyway, what's really nice about this is like this sort of level of thoughtful consideration. The score I'm not going to talk about, you can ask me about. Main thing here is trying to meet people where they are and transform this thing as largely unquestioned into a question because you add the voting element. We're trying to create a space where they can be heard through the videos that I shoot, which you can see on my site, and just like the conversation that happens around the sign. Now, I'm not even going to try to finish because I've been watching these presentations for 5 years, and I can't believe no one's done this before. But what key are we in?